A win for parents in the meantime in Virginia and other places across this country. And the radical left lost. And Joe Biden just blamed Trump voters and conservative folks for Democrats' loss in Virginia. And that's where we begin tonight. Virginia victory for Republican Glenn Youngkin, who defeated Democrat Terry McAuliffe for governor, flipping that state to red. Youngkin's win is a major blow to socialist Democrats everywhere, signaling Americans' rejection of left-wing extremism. Joining me now to weigh in is Wisconsin Congressman Glenn Grotham, and along with Pennsylvania Congressman Dan Meuser. Gentlemen, welcome. Mr. Grotham, to you first. Do you agree with my analysis that it was socialists who lost and not GOP that won, and that the Republican Party had better come up with some vision a la, Newt Gingrich's contract with America before we hit the fall of 2022?
Well, I'll say this. It was scary to me that McAuliffe got 48% of the vote last night. Let's face it. If he represented the party that stands for open borders, that stands for hating the police, that claims that there's all this bigotry everywhere and really dislikes white people, if he feels we can't hire many more white people to teach in Virginia schools, I think it's shocking the Democrats did that well. And we've got a lot of work to do, because that 48% should be back down to 28 or 18%, as I'm sure it would have been if an election was held 40 years ago. I agree with you. Right now, the Republicans are riding a wave driven by Democrats' stupidity and mendacity, not by our own well-run campaigns or vision.
Well said. Congressman Meuser, over the weekend, Vice President Kamala Harris, she rallied for left-wing extremist Terry McAuliffe and had this to say about the race. Listen.
Because you see, what happens in Virginia will in large part determine what happens in 2022, 2024, and on.
Congressman, is she right?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, she is. And you have to just, how can you not just question her thinking process when Youngkin was gaining regularly in the polls? It was certainly going to be close. I felt that Youngkin was going to win. He had all the momentum. And for her to come out and say something like that, and I agree with my colleague Glenn, it's a wonder how, with these policies and the results of these policies, how anybody's voting Democrat these days, because this is not the party of the Democrat Party of their fathers. I mean, this is a extreme left, big government socialist organization that is look. They're for amnesty. They're for open borders. I mean, there's havoc. Even Democrats know there's no products on the shelves. Inflation is through the roof. Gasoline prices. I mean, very sadly, the list goes on. So but most people do not want this to continue, because it's hurting them. It's hurting them in their patriotism and their love of country, but it's hurting them in their pocketbooks. It's hurting them every day of the week with workforce problems and inflation and higher costs, and the list goes on.
Congressman Grotham, the mainstream press is having a full-blown meltdown over socialists' loss last night. Former ESPN host Jamel Hill tweeting that Democrats lost because of white supremacy. But she failed to mention that Virginia elected its first black female Republican woman in Lieutenant Governor, Winsome Sears, and Virginia's first Hispanic Attorney General, Jason Miyares. Congressman, a caller on my radio show said whenever she hears these left-wingers talking points these days about racism this and racism that, she just rolls her eyes. Only truly stupid people think that diversity equals white supremacy. Am I wrong?
Well, you're 100% right. The thing that's very frustrating about this is that the Democrats apparently believe this, despite there's got to be some mental problem going on here, because despite the overwhelming success of people who come here from all around the world, Korea, India, Iran, Philippines, everywhere people come here, they're successful. For the Democrats to still believe that racism is a major problem in this country must go to some psychological deal, the same type of psychological deal that allows 48% of the public to vote for Terry McAuliffe last night.
Congressman Meuser, last thing. Senator Manchin is saying the unbelievable, his words, Virginia win is a warning for socialist Democrats amid rising inflation and other things that you've already mentioned. He also blames left-wing progressives for their pause on the spending bill. Do you actually think Washington's childlike spending was a factor in yesterday's elections?
Well, I do. I think everything sort of factored in the list that we just went through. And again, just the daily pocketbook issues that are just reminders. But I will tell you, Chris, this wasn't just in Virginia. Pennsylvania, we won 4 statewide judicial races, which is somewhat unprecedented. All conservative, constitutional Republican judges, of course. And what I'm seeing, the new reconciliation bill, which will be completely partisan, just came out. And they've got amnesty. They've got illegals being able to receive driver's licenses. They've got this they removed the cap on the state and local taxes, which is a real attempt for a giveaway to blue states such as New York and California in particular. So maybe they're not getting it. They're doubling down or going for broke, and that's why Build Back Broke is. Apparently what their vision is.
Well, I think you guys had better be on guard because, once an animal is backed into a corner, they really lash out. I expect these socialists will be trying to do as much harm as they can to this country before they lose power. At least they're forecast to lose power in a year. Congressman Glenn Grothman and Congressman Dan Meuser, gentlemen, thank you.